Well, gentlemen, it is time. We can't, again, we could deliberate it forever and ever and ever, but let's get to it. It's going to be our most recent Intel Extreme Masters World Champion going up against the BlizzCon World Champion.
For our first match in Group C, we have a rematch of the WCS Global semifinals. These are both former BlizzCon champions. Please welcome on stage, it is Serral and Rogue.
That's right, guys. We're back for our next day. Group C and D about to begin, and what a way to begin, Pigs. Serral and Rogue facing off once more.
I am so excited. I had the pleasure of casting their match at BlizzCon with you, Maynard, and it was the best Zerg vs. Zerg I've ever seen. It was incredible. I just hope we have something that's even half as good as that set here today.
Certainly would be blessed if that happens again with players like this. So definitely a high possibility. Rogue is the best player, or the best Zerg in Korea right now. And Serral, of course, everyone knows him, everyone loves him. He's the best Zerg in the world. Rogue actually is one of the few Zergs that kind of made it look like Serral could bleed in the matchup. Players like Dark and such, who are scary enough in this matchup and extremely scary overall, and still in this tournament, by the way, just couldn't go toe-to-toe with Serral like Rogue did, and that, especially on that game on Lost and Found at BlizzCon.
Yeah, Serral was steamrolling the rest of the opposition. Rogue, you know what I find so fascinating is he threw everything. You know, Kevin was saying it on the desk. He was throwing counterattacks from all sides. What was especially interesting, though, is Rogue was a player who said, look, there's a point where every player overloads and they can't keep up, and I'm going to push you beyond that point. And I think everybody's in agreement. Anyone but Serral would have broken. He was dropping Nidus Worms in the main base, attacking from 3 sides with Roach counterattacks. Baneling drops into mineral lines, all happening at the same time. Lurkers dropping into mineral lines. All of this was going on, and Serral just defended and defended and defended and took good fight after good fight. And even though he lost little bits of his economy, he'd reestablish them, defend, and push back. And what I find interesting here now is the Nidus. It's a bit quicker, it's a little bit cheaper, it's a little bit more explosive. And Rogue was always the guy who was like the ZVZ mastermind of using the Nidus Worm. We'd even see him bring out like the Nidus Swarm Host, was something he was doing years ago in ZVZ. So I think Rogue here, he's just such an interesting player. He's got such well-tailored builds, and it really is the story of what tools does he bring to this puzzle?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to see where Rogue is at right now. I haven't seen him play in a minute. Let's get into it, guys. We'll just watch him play right now. In the top left here, from NC Sports, the world champion, it is Serral.
He's been practicing here all morning, getting ready for his opponent down here in the bottom right-hand side. The 2017 world champion, last year's IEM Katowice world champion as well in the red in the bottom right. He is Jin Air Greenwings Rogue.
Rogue, of course, a world champion himself, and not only that, he's done something that Serral hasn't done yet. And he's in his Intel Extreme Masters champion as well as world champion. That is a tough moniker to achieve. Katowice, even regarded by a lot of people being the toughest tournament of the year, including the global finals.
Yeah, it is incredibly difficult. You know, I kind of think of the year as split into the first half, where this is the culmination of the beginning of the year, right? IEM Katowice here, the stiffest competition, a huge amount of prize money. It's a tournament where you get many, many games to prove your skill. And then, of course, in the tail end of the year, we do get that BlizzCon WCS Global Finals clash as well. So, interestingly enough here, Serral is going to be going for his pool and gas 1 or 2 supply earlier than Rogue. Not a big difference, just a couple more workers being squeezed out by the Korean Zerg, looking to push his economy nice and hard early on.
Yeah, certainly. We're just really interested about we're going to see in the mid game. It's so amazing that to think back and talk about what Serral actually did against this guy, going toe to toe against the best Zerg in Korea for what was it, 30 minutes?
Yeah, it was a long one.
Basically like running a marathon. There are people out there that run marathons that are less impressive to me than what Serral did in that game. It's really, really nuts. I mean, of course, this series could look very, very different. Like you mentioned, Pig, the Nidus Worm has found its way into every single matchup for the Zerg. It is so powerful and definitely not something that it was usually ZVZ where you would see it the least.
Yeah.
But now, you know, EU ladder, Korean ladder, a lot of Zergs are loving using it.
Yep, and Rogue was, as we were saying before, one of the guys who's pioneered a lot of creative styles. We did see him start up Link Speed slightly delayed there, and I am kind of wondering if Rogue's going to let that finish or not, because just from the slight delay on it, I felt like there's an Evo chamber on the way. Interesting. So Rogue, I think, is going to be going for maybe a fast Carapace here.
Yeah, Carapace makes sense.
Roach Sling, you know, this is the build we saw Lambo do against Impact. I believe it was on the same map, actually. And it's always a good one. Does give you a big power boost with the Ravager Zergling. Your Zergling's able to surround and absorb lots of hits. Third base going down for both players slightly earlier for Serral. Serral looking for the scout here with these Lings. He'd love to spot that Evo chamber.
Looks like he will as well. Link's getting into the main base. Whoop, target's down. Hurt one here, but that one slips on past the Queen and sees the Evo.
Oh, the drones even came off the line trying to stop that. But Serral sees it, and Rogue already a little bit frustrated. Giving away such an important piece of information. This style, and generally all the early upgrade styles, they are best if you can hide it from your opponent. You can catch them unprepared. They aren't as ready for it, and it's much more difficult for them to play against. Now, we do see Serral holding down that Zergling key. He knows there's no Baneling nest yet. He's going to try and get Banelings morphed on this side of the map. Rogue's hunting for it. You can see Rogue Zerglings right now. They're looking for Serrals. He does not want to let Banelings morph on his side of the map.
So far, 007 and 006 Baneling over here. Starting to get morphed, but Rogue is about to catch them.
Oh, no. Neither of those is actually...
wow.
Yeah. I thought one of them might be cast by Sean Bean, but no. They're both going to survive for now. More Banelings morphing, more Lings. He's still building more Lings, Maynard. This is not just a light pressure.
This is all in.
He's got to kill the third base. Yeah, Serral's got to do big damage here. And with no defensive Banelings ready yet, Rogue's in trouble. He's starting to get the Baneling nest up now. His Banelings are on the way. He's got to focus fire with the Queens. The Banelings do get focused down. Nice micro there by Rogue, but his Queen's heavily bruised and more Banelings coming into the fray.
They certainly are. These Queens are so low, they're about to lose their lives here, and that means that these Banelings are just going to have to deal with Zerglings and drones for the most being. There is no static defense here for Rogue, and without +1 Carapace, he can't eat these Baneling hits. He's taking tons of damage, Big.
Yeah, those drones, they're trying to get to safety, but there's just too many Zerglings on top of them. The Banelings have run out now for Serral. One more coming in. One more Baneling rolling into the drones, and he gets a nice hit. Takes out a Ling and a bunch of drones. They're all heavily wounded. Serral still trying to let these Banelings get up. Rogue barely shutting down those Banelings at the last second.
+1 Carapace is seconds away from finishing here for Rogue, and if that finishes, this is going to get a little bit easier for him here. Continuing to just hold down that Zergling key, making Banelings of his own in that natural. They're just about to finish up.
Oh, all those weak drones surviving though. Rogue actually still equal on workers, even though he lost a lot of Queens. I think those extra drones not going down is a big problem. Serral's starting to drone behind this, but he's got to be wary of the counterattack. Rogue still desperately trying to stabilize.
Feels like maybe Serral should just go for the third base here and pull back, enjoy that third base economy, and maybe hold a counterattack from Rogue, because he doesn't look like he's going to crack the natural anymore, especially now that +1 Carapace is done.
Carapace being done means these fights are steadily going to get better and better for Rogue. He's got Queens and Banelings together, and that is the beginnings of a solid defense. You can see Serral realizing he's being held on. He's going to have to back off. He's still got a ton of Ling Bane on the map, but he's got to maintain control of the situation. A big Ling counterattack from Rogue. When did that slip across the map? I don't even know. It's diving into the natural, but Serral well prepared. Queen in the mineral line. Zerglings there supporting as well.
Very quick reactions here from the chat. Rogue turning his target onto the third base instead. There looks like a lot of Zerglings here from the finished Zerg to be able to deflect them. He's going to lose his Queen at the third, but the hatchery remains. No drones killed yet.
Non-stop Ling Bane coming out here for Rogue. He's trying to push across this map, but Roach Warren, drones, extra gases all going down for Serral. Serral is trying to just stabilize and get to the next stage. He may be pushing his greed a little bit too far though. These Banelings on the south side are going to finish morphing, and that's a lot of Serral's Lings going down, but he responds with one of his own good Baneling hits as well.
Looks like Serral is defending just as well as Rogue here so far, but Rogue not taking the foot off the gas pedal. He is just holding down Zerglings, setting them across the map, morphing Banelings wherever he can. The third base of Serral is starting to lose a little bit of ground here. The Banelings and the Lings of Rogue are getting closer and closer. Big Baneling hit to a lot of these Lings, but they are still alive.
Yeah, the third's been exposed there. A Baneling finds the natural mineral line and wounds a lot of the workers of Serral as well. Serral's still up 9 workers, but he needs to get his defense together. His Banelings keep going down before they can finish morphing, and that's a big problem because now we have Lings and Banes heading in towards the natural.
Oh, another Queen dying here. That's a little bit less production there for Serral, not getting any of those injects, not having that extra defensive unit either. He's starting to produce roaches now, though. If he can get a good number of roaches up, have them at the third base, have them at the natural, then this attack will end.
This is an absolute bloodbath, Maynard. This Ling Bane fight will just not end. It looks like Serral's going to stabilize in that area of his natural, but Rogue is not done. He wants to push this upgrade advantage while he has it, but he's on a timer. The roaches starting to come out, more and more Banelings starting to consolidate it together.
Now that the roaches are here and the Banelings are here, Rogue actually can't power through the space anymore. He doesn't have the firepower to do it.
He's going to run by the natural, distracting here at the third.
4 Banelings running into that natural. There's a Queen placed on that wall in though. Nice positioning from Serral.
Very well done there. Serral's counter-attacking with his own Zerglings as well. He realizes the roaches and the Banelings are all he really needs on the defense, so his own Lings posturing around. They see there's no workers on the third. That gives Serral a lot of confidence. He knows that Rogue is pretty much all in right now. If he can just hold on to this third base, keep these roaches alive, then he is going to get ahead in this match.
I mean, he's up almost 20 workers. Rogue's on a timer here. He needs to make more happen. He's getting further and further behind the longer that this goes. The roach count for Serral is continuing to climb. Rogue manages to breach through the natural with some Lings. The third is still holding strong, though. Serral with good drone micro as well, keeping out of that Baneling splash.
Yep, hopefully none of you, some of you were able to keep up with the action. Watching the first-person view of Serral and Rogue at the same time is a little bit difficult to track in these Ling Bane wars. It is absolute madness how quickly they're playing.
I mean, Rogue is playing at 400 APM. Serral's been spiking between 300 and 400. We're trying to cast 2 screens at once. It is a little bit nuts. We do have the lair on the way here for Serral as well, heading towards tier 2, and Rogue's starting to give up with this attack. He's going into droning. He's getting +1 attack, committing to Ling Bane here.
You know, Serral toes that line so well. That's what we saw. It's just crazy because usually you expect someone to fall off the top of that wall. You know, he's tippy-toeing the line of greed so well. There was multiple times where Serral lost every Baneling and only had 1 or 2 Banelings morphing. You thought, oh, the Ling Flood's going to get in. But his Ling Micro was spreading so well against the Banes. He's always sliding these backstabs in. And at the end of this, I mean, look at this. Serral's getting in. He's seeing, oh, wait, you're still on hatch tech? Like, oh, I am so far ahead, buddy. 49 workers to just 36. Serral's going for his range upgrades. His lair is almost done. His third has got a healthy number of workers on it. Serral is large and in charge, and I feel like this was almost a skill check from Rogue. He said, first game of the day, let's just go pedal to the metal aggression. Go with the carapace, non-stop Ling Bane. This really, like, one small mistake from you, you lose your worker line. You're out of the game. Serral didn't show any small mistakes, though, at all.
I don't even know if you lost a drone, and Serral's going to be the first player to drop a Nidus Worm here as soon as that lair finishes. And I love this from him because he has such a high roach count. You get those roaches inside the main or the natural of Rogue, or even just use them to rally, attack the natural, and pull back if he needs for defense. The Nidus Worm has so much utility.
Yeah, these Lings posturing around here for Rogue. He's gone +1 melee after the carapace and a lair, so it looks like upgraded Lings into mutas, but oh! Cute little ambush there. Serral actually was not watching though, so he would have move commanded those Banelings, let them get deeper in the pack, and then detonated them if he was watching that. Nonetheless though, lots of Lings go down. The Nidus Worm starting to emerge on Rogue's side of the map.
The Worm from down under, burrowing its way towards the third base. Serral's loading up with his Queens, his Banes, his Roaches. He's not leaving anything at home, actually.
Yeah, well, those Lings are all back here on Rogue's side of the map. Rogue's trying to go into Roaches behind this, but he's got 7 Roaches versus
30-7! Oh my god, this Roach advantage for Serral is just unquenchable. I just don't know how Rogue holds this.
I think Rogue needs to bend time, space, and reality right now to hang on here, Maynard.
Yeah, start game 1 all over again. I think that's Rogue's only chance. Serral with a brilliant hold against the counterattack of Rogue, while Rogue defended so well. And he is going for a big attack with 1-1 Lings, but there are still so many Roaches back at home. He's going to take minimal damage here, and Serral's attack cannot be stopped. GG.
Yep, just too much of an advantage there for Serral after he blocked that carapace Ling counterattack, and this whole game came back to the Zerglings sliding in at the start. I was watching the way Serral was dancing those first 2 Lings around. He was looking for a path past. Rogue slightly slipped up on his Zergling positioning, so he wasn't blocking. Those two Lings got in. Remember that one red hit point Ling slid past. Rogue tried to block it with the drones, didn't get it. And once he saw the carapace, Serral just held down the Zergling key and did sick damage with his Ling Bane aggression.
If the champ wants to scout you, you're going to get scouted. There's no stopping him. He's going to get those Lings in. He did the follow-up scout as well with his cluster of Lings as well to confirm how far ahead he was. And he lol KXD'd his way into a big Roach attack, knowing that it would be very, very hard. A really, really minuscule percentage chance of Rogue being able to hold.
It was a great play there from the Finnish Zerg, stable as ever. I do like Rogue coming out with a bit more of an aggressive opening, and it wasn't necessarily always going to be the Ling Bane Flood. Remember, a couple of queens did go down, the two queens early on, and that was the real damage, I think, that Rogue took with his own Ling counterattack, not quite being able to get in there as easily. Of course, the Ling upgrade as well in those Ling Bane fights. A little bit better on a map with some wider open spaces. You know,
maybe a Automaton or something like that, be a little bit better for that sort of thing.
Yeah, maybe have a few more chances to slide in past. But like there was even that moment where the Lings were almost getting in, and then there was like a Roach and a Queen. Like in the midst of it, Serral kind of had the... he just had that mental awareness to realize, hey, let's put the Evo Chamber and the Roach Warren in the wall off so that I can defend the third, focus down there, plug the gap with a Queen. Serral taking a 1-0 lead so far. He did beat Rogue in the group stage here at Katowice last year as well.
That's right, but it ended up falling to Classic in the end. Let's see if 2019 is a different story here for this fellow in the bottom right. The world champion, the Finnish Zerg, the Night King. It is Serral!
Hope you don't mind your spoilers. The Night King wins in this version of the story.
That's right.
At least he's been brutalizing so far, but honestly, we can't count this guy out. It is actually insane, the level of skill that he has shown. Up here in the top left-hand side, representing Jinair Green Wings, the Red Zerg, he is Rogue.
Certainly is. Looks like the auditorium is filling up with Polish fans. What's up, Katowice? It's good to see you guys again. Poland always shows up for StarCraft, and I think that's why I love this country so much.
No, some of the best fans in the world. Still remember the first time we got to come back here in 2015 for WCS Season 3 back then when Mana made it through to the finals. That was one of my favorite events of all time, but it's always a highlight of the year coming down. And I think it's a highlight for every StarCraft fan out there, because how often do you get to start a day of StarCraft in a group stage with Rogue, Serral, following up, of course, with a couple names like, oh, you know, Innovation.
Oh, just, you know, no big deal. Just the GSL champion Innovation of yesteryear, along with, you know, TY. People think is a contender with the best Terran in the world. The only guy Maru feared in 2018, you know. They're all here.
It's actually insane. Just such a stacked lineup. So many games as well, you know. There's no lose 1 or 2 best of 3s and you're out. Nuh-uh. We get to see so many games. We've, of course, got the BNC streams going at the same time as well for those at home to keep up with everything. And can't wait for some of those updates from the battle station after this series.
That's right. It's ESL_SC2B for Wardy, who's casting right now, and Twitch TV/ESL. Easy Twitch link there for Zombie Grub. Both of which solo casting, putting in mad hours along with us here, which is very, very respectable. So send them some love, get your multi-streams up, but do not look away, because this is literally the world champion against the best Zerg in Korea. I was with Jeffrey. I was with In Control on the desk.
Yep.
Serral's been looking really good online. WCS Winter's been an absolute slugfest for him. He's having no problems at all.
Yep.
But how's he looking at LAN? How's he looking on that stage? Is he still the champ of last year? You know what? After that game 1, I'm not afraid anymore. No. I think Serral is still my favorite for this whole tournament, just off the back of one game.
Yeah, I mean, it's so funny, isn't it? You know, whenever there's a lot of hopes on someone, we're so used to, in StarCraft, realizing the next time they come to a big event, everyone's prepared, everyone's memorized their builds, they come out with these sick ways of sniping them, and we see them just fumble a tiny bit and get knocked out or knocked down a few games. Not the case with Serral, who's opening up here with a very...
extremely fast layer. It looks like a Roach timing attack.
It's a short map. I was talking to you earlier, man. I was saying, I was wondering if Serral's going to veto Cyber for us just because of the short rush distance and he likes big macro games, but what's a great way to take advantage of that rush distance? Just run across with Roaches and try to knock your opponent out. Yeah, I think it might even be like the 32 drone version, like really low worker count straight into Roach speed and +1. Keep an eye on when Serral stops building workers. If he stops below 35, it is a fiercely committed Roach attack.
It certainly is, and the onus is on Rogue here to be able to get that information. He has an Overlord that could potentially park into the main base, but he's got it sort of like hanging out the front to see when or what moves out here for Serral. He does see the Roach War, and he does see the Evolution Shaper wiggling, which means there is an upgrade on the way.
Yep. I like that Queen block there on the ramp.
Yeah, it stops him from scouting the Roach War, and that means that Rogue can't confirm if there's lair or not.
Serral's building 3 more Overlords right now, but he is building a 4th Queen, so he's actually going to run all of his Queens across the map. There's going to be 3 or 4 Queens coming, so notice they're all saving energy. None of them has a transfuse yet, but they're going to have them stacked up soon. So he's planning, of course, he's already got 1 or 2 Overlords in the middle of the map. They're going to start dropping creep about 30 seconds to a minute from now, and then he's going to run across with Roach Queen. Now this is terrible for Rogue, because Rogue is massing Zerglings with +1 carapace right now. If we go take a look at, does he even have a Roach Warren?
No, he's just been making links. And he's got in the Baneling Nest. So this is Rogue potentially being a little bit greedy here, expecting a Ling Bane war against Serral. But unfortunately, what Serral's going for kind of hard counters what Rogue's doing.
Okay, I mean, Rogue's going to see it, though. Okay, good. Rogue hasn't shown his hand. This is good for Rogue, because he now knows what he's up against. Seeing 3 Queens, he immediately knows, he sees the Overlords dropping creep. So what he's got to do is he's got to hide his Lings to the last second, and then he's got to get a nice surround, maybe even add a few Banelings in. If you can kind of trap those Roaches, then you can surround them. He's going to look potentially for a backstab or to intercept the reinforcements, and that, of course, can be the flank that comes in and shuts the door on the army from behind, not to mention these Lings in a base trade are awesome. Serral has no idea what he's up against. We're on Serral's first-person view. A gigantic Ling counterattack shows itself. Does Serral have time to defend? I think he does. Roach is pulling back. He gets the Evo Chamber down just barely.
Nicely done from Serral so far. The natural, of course, he's not out of the woods yet. The Link's trying to bleed on through, but he gets these Roaches back in position. The Roaches of Serral are now attacking into Rogue, with the Queen soon to follow as well. He's doing his best here. The transfusions are going to be able to start hit in.
Using the choke point perfectly there. Notice he doesn't want to let those Roaches get surrounded. The melee units, the Zerglings, are going to look for that surface area, but plenty of transfuses are ready. The other Lings are coming in from behind. The flank is ready. The surround is complete. And there we go. Serral's units trying to hang on. +1 Roaches. Their +1 attack is negated by the carapace of the Zerglings.
Oh, looks like the Zergling counter press has been denied, Pig. He lost the Evo Chamber, so it's not being negated at all. These Roaches are punching through those Lings and the Queens as well. Serral's army supply is too high. Rogue has given up. Serral starts off Group C with a 2-0. The champ is large and in charge.
Oh man,
cheeky thumbs up.
That's insane. Carapace would have changed everything there. Just not ready in time. Serral so clean.
So fresh and so clean. This kid still got what it takes. And you know what he said at Home Story Cup? He wants that IEM trophy. It's one of the few that he's missing in that trophy cabinet. Let's take a short break. When we come back, an interview with our winner, Serral.
It was a rematch of the WCS Global semifinals where back then Serral came out on top 3-1, and it's like history continues to repeat itself as Serral, once again, you take down Rogue in a very convincing 2-0 fashion. Did you expect it to be as straightforward as it was?
Not really. I felt like Rogue was the hardest player in the group, and I think if he would have went into macro games, it would have been very hard. But now I got a couple build order wins pretty much, so it kind of looked pretty easy after that.
And speaking of this group, easy for Serral, easy for Ens. This group, a lot of people are calling the group of death. Every single player that we talked to said they wanted to avoid this group. For yourself personally, when you looked at the group, what were your thoughts?
Obviously, player names are pretty strong, but I'm kind of happy I didn't get any pros players. I'm struggling a bit in that matchup since I'm not maybe making enough 90s, but yeah, I mean, I'm completely fine with the group. I like the matchups, and I'm pretty confident against every player. I think Rogue was the hardest one for me, and now he's already over. So yeah, pretty happy with this.
You said Rogue would have been the hardest. You just took him down, and now coming up next, you have Solar. What do you think of your Zerg versus Zerg right now?
CVC is a bit coin flippy in this patch. I'm not necessarily coin flippy, but it's a bit harder now in this patch since 2 base play is a bit stronger, and I think that took my CVC a bit down, but I'm still very confident in it. And if I get to macro games, I'm very confident, and yeah, I'm not too worried, to be honest.
Well, awesome to speak with you. Congratulations once again on a fantastic start here in Katowice. Kolaris, back to you.
Thank you very much, Smix. Fears dispelled, it seems, here going into the first match of the day. I was concerned what was going to be happening, how he was going to approach it, and then actually just smashes his first match. So well played there, going up against the the current reigning Intel Extreme Masters World Champion here at the Battles. You former?
I think.
Here at the battle station, what matches do we have going on? In Control, I'm going to jump in with you first. Innovation going up against Solar.
We could hop into it if you guys need a visual aid. I know a lot of you guys are born in the 2000s, so you're not used to using your creative minds, but here is the actual game itself. 1 apiece, Solar Innovation. Solar got some Broodlords out in game number 2 and was able to kind of prevail and push on from there. Game number 1, Innovation just steamrolled. Game 3 is a battle, but I'm telling you what, Solar showing up and looking pretty good. He's obviously down in supply here a little bit, but he was knocking on that door of innovation. It's been a real nice back and forth, very aggressive series. All of these of which you should be able to check out on the YouTube later tonight if you're listening to me right now and you haven't watched the whole match, or on the channel itself. Just check out the VODs.
Yeah, things actually look quite alright here for Solar because he's getting ultras, he's getting +3 upgrades, and Inno doesn't have like mass liberators with range or no ghosts. Obviously, he still has a very big bio army, but if Innovation loses his army, I'm starting to fear the worst for him.
Big game going on. Thank you very much for that update, gentlemen, as that game will continue to roll on, and we'll update you with the score of that later. I'm going to check in with Rotterdam as well. You had Ragnarok versus Gumiho.
Yep, 2 pretty long games actually. It did end with a 2-0 victory in favor of Ragnarok. And Jeff, I gotta give you some kudos there, because he's been talking a lot about Ragnarok. We followed him in the open bracket, and yeah, he looked good, but I wasn't still not totally sure what to expect coming into this group. And we made some jokes, you know, it's 5 champions and Ragnarok, but damn, James, he looked really good. Gumiho did not play poor at all. Also, shout out to the admins, by the way, of this tournament for letting the 2 teammates, of course, they're both representing Sidestorm Gaming, play against each other first in the round robin. It's one of these minor details, but I think it's important. Anyway, I've got the final fight of Game 2. Game 1 was a very long battle mech game. Cloak Banshees with speed by Gumiho, so technically typical Gumiho stuff. An insane amount of Cyclones, but Ragnarok, Knight is here, Knight is there. 20-minute game on Port Alexander, but he just eventually shut it down. I've got the final fight of Game 2 for you guys, so we can go ahead and hop into this laptop. Up to this point, we can see there was quite a bloodbath as well, as Pick would say. You know, roaches went down, 44 of them in total, a couple of, you know, mech units here and there, but it wasn't as crazy as the first game. It was a little bit less trady, and then it came down to this. These are the final moments of this game. By the way, James, oh, did you see that? He was a 2-on-1 supply. Can we disqualify him for that? So you look at his armies, they're both maxed out, and a maxed out Gumiho is always a terrifying player to go up against. But he does have Broodlords, and he's got Vipers. And Vipers have this ability called Blinding Cloud. Yeah, so basically everything in this little circle right now is not fighting. There were a lot of Hellbats in the mix as well, but Hellbats are not that good against Broodlords, and you guys can see the Thors are just derping around a little bit, back and forward, and Ragnarok is like, yeah, I know we're having a really big battle, but I'm remaxing with 25 Hydras as well, and I'm really not planning on losing the majority of my units here, but I think you are, because it's very hard to retreat from a losing battle with mech units. Gumio drops 100 supply. Ragnarok, well, obviously he dropped some supply, but he remaxed during the fight, and that was it. Gumio calls GG. Ragnarok takes a pretty convincing and really impressive 2-0 victory for me.
Yeah. Kevin, that's amazing. I've got a quick update for you. Whoa. Hot off the presses. Let's go into my game right now. Take a look at this real quick.
The screen is behind you, Jeff.
It's right behind you, Jeff.
It's already revealed.
But there it is on the big screen, boys. That's right. Solar has taken the win. Wow, he beats Innovation in this first group. That's Rogue, Innovation, and Gumio losing in the first series. Is this the most exciting day of StarCraft II ever, James?
It's pretty exciting so far.
I think it is.
Yeah, very good results across the board. Interesting. Unfortunately for Innovation, losing his first match. And that does it for us here for the moment. We're going to go to a short break. When we return, we're going to have more of Group C. Don't go anywhere.